Cindy and I have this thing that if a holiday falls during the week or close to the weekend, it becomes an extravaganza. For instance, this will be a Valentine's weekend extravaganza. We're kicking it off on the right note. We've got improving weather and a tasty recipe, one that's all about love, in the French sense anyway. Steak au poivre, which basically translates into pepper steak. We're going to do it in a different way though, a little culinary nonsense. It makes it pretty, it makes it easy, and it may just set your heart aflutter, or more importantly, your significant other's heart aflutter as we get ready for Valentine's Day coming up on Culinary Nunnsense. Now on a night like tonight, you don't want to be stuck in the kitchen all night long. I mean, after all, it's Valentine's Day. You want some cuddling and canoodling to go on. So here's what we're going to do. A very simple dish, 2 simple sauces, easy to make, quick in the kitchen, and that gets you to have some free time for you and your significant other. Here's the basic ingredients for steak au poivre. You need a good piece of steak. In this case, we're using a tenderloin, commonly known as filet mignon. I would recommend somewhere between an 8 and a 10-ounce cut. That one obviously is a little bit bigger than 8 or 10 ounces, but for the purpose of TV, I needed one that was actually going to show up well. The other thing you need is pepper. You can get just the regular black Malabar peppercorns. Of course, you need some salt. Or if you don't have a pepper grinder, you can also just get one of the little pepper medley things. You can find these at the grocery store. But you will need pepper because that is the key for steak au poivre. So let me show you how this goes together. Simply enough. And using a grinder, now if you don't know it, grinders have a little dial so you can make the grind either fine and or coarse. And I've set this one to a nice coarse grind. I want to see the big pieces of black pepper popping out into my tray. First thing we're going to do is we are going to salt the tops and the bottoms. Now normally in a steak au poivre, where I'm putting the salt right now is actually where the pepper would go, and you would have a very heavy pepper taste when it comes to the steak, which isn't a bad thing. We're still going to have all that pepper taste with, hopefully without having too many of the flecks left over in the teeth. Once our steak is salted on both sides, we're going to take and basically roll this thing right around the edge, the rim of the steak, and get it coated all the way around with some of that fresh ground black pepper. And then into a hot pan, we are going to sear this. If you're looking for some cooking times here, somewhere between about 4 minutes per side would set you up for something that would be closer to rare. Somewhere in about the 6 to 8 minute range is going to set you up closer to medium, and once you go beyond that, you start burgeoning on well territory. Of course, that is for a steak that is about 1 inch to 1.5 inches thick. This pan here is piping hot, so right smack into the center of the pan goes our tenderloin as we start the searing. As our steak continues to sizzle, we'll go ahead and start with one of our sauces. And for this recipe, it's my favorite sauce. The classic comes with the cream sauce, but this one I like it because number one, it's got a lot of red color in it. It's Valentine's Day, and it's got a nice bold flavor that pairs very well with any kind of meat. And we're starting off with a roasted red pepper. We roasted this pepper by putting it over the open flame of the stovetop here. If you don't have a gas stove, you can pop this underneath the broiler in your oven. Just make sure you rotate it, and you see how we've got this thing charred all the way around. That's what we're looking for. I know it looks burnt. Now, if I was making a salsa with this, I would actually leave the charred skin on top of it. It does offer a nice flavor, but as far as the sauce, if you leave all of that charred on there, it has a chance to muddy up the color and kind of make it a little less vibrant red and more, well, kind of like a dark, funky looking brown. So all I'm doing is taking the skin that has been heavily roasted here and pulling it off. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pop out the seed core, remove the pith and the seeds, and then this is going into a processor with some vegetable stock, chicken stock, or even in a pinch, you can use beef stock. The secret with almost any good sauce is to season after you're done with almost all of the work here. And what I mean by that is if I put salt and pepper in this now, I may put in too much and then there's no way for me to get it out. So it's better to season to taste toward the end. We'll start off with this crazy old food processor, and we'll give our roasted red pepper a spin just to start to break it up before we start to add our stock. That should just about do it here. Let's go ahead and give it a taste. I know we're going to have to add some salt to it. And that's really as easy as it gets there when it comes to a sauce. Very rich with that roasted red pepper flavor. Like I said, you can do a lot of things to this. You can add some heat to it if you want in the form of some cayenne. You can add some Tabasco. But for, again, a Valentine's Day meal, going with the mild instead of the wild may be the best course of action here. Traditionally, this comes with a cream sauce, which we'll finish at the end, but like I said, I just love it for that vibrant red color, especially since it's Valentine's Day. Our steak is almost done, and what I'm going for here is something that's going to be a little bit red in the center and just a little bit more cooked on the outside, so something that's more along the lines of medium rare. Remember, you can do that with your hand. The closer you are to the center here, that's rare. The closer you get away from the mushy part and out toward where you get the bone, this is what it starts to feel like with well done. So I'm going to go with something that tries to feel just about in the middle. Your hand may be a little bit different. Your medium rare spot may be a little bit different, but I'm looking for something that, well, that's a pretty good example. There we go. I want something medium rare, so I want the give just like that, and that's what we're seeing here. There it is here, and there it is here. So I would say that that steak is done. So off of the heat it goes. I want the juices to settle in, so I'm just going to tent it for a second. I'm going to turn the heat down to as low as it goes. We're going to let this just start to cool off, but we're going to deglaze the pan with, now traditionally you would use cognac. This is Culinary Nunnsense, so I had to go for bourbon. A nice, good, smoky bourbon. In goes the alcohol, and we're going to use it to get the good stuff off the bottom. You'll see just how quickly that dissolves. Once that starts to dissolve, in goes our cream, and we continue to stir. You don't want to turn your back on this, you'll end up with cheese. And what we're looking for is consistency that's basically going to allow us to coat the back of a spoon. Doesn't take a lot of cream, doesn't take a lot of bourbon or cognac, but it will take a little bit of salt and pepper here, and I'll taste that in just a second. But here's what I'm looking for. I want to get the back of the spoon, and I want to make sure that when I draw a line through it that it stays there. Just like that. I'm getting a nice thick sauce. Ooh, that's good. 2 steaks, 2 sauces, 2 ways to say I love you. You don't have to go with the tenderloin. I know it can be pricey. You can also do this with a strip steak, like as in a New York strip steak. Cooking time will be a little bit different. I've also put it, paired it, if you will, with some sweet potatoes. These were also pan roasted. Makes it nice and easy for cleanup. But I think if you roast a red pepper, you make your coulis sauce, you pick your favorite cut of meat, you add the spice from the pepper. On this Valentine's Day, when it comes to amore in the form of a meal, you two will be saying, there is none better.